Game two of the Western Conference Finals, Nate. Let's talk about it. The Phoenix Suns defeated the LA Clippers 104 to 103 to take a 2-0 lead in this series. I'll get to the end of this game in a second, Nate. But first, let me read the stats. I'm going to start with the Clippers. So, Paul George, he had 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Ivica Zubac, he had 14 points, 11 rebounds. Reggie Jackson had 19 points, 3 assists, and 5 rebounds. And Luke Kennard, he had 10 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds as well. So overall, Nate, this was a very good game. I'll get to the Suns stats next. So DeAndre Ayton, he had 24 points, 1 assist, and 14 rebounds. Devin Booker had 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. 4 rebounds and 5 assists, excuse me. And Cameron Payne had 29 points, 9 assists, and 1 rebound. And then Cameron Johnson and Dario Saric both had 11 points, except Dario Saric had 2 assists and 3 rebounds, and Cam Johnson only had 3 rebounds with no assists. Let me get to this game, okay? First of all, this game was competitive throughout the whole game. There wasn't a time where you see one team and they were like ahead by a large margin or anything. No, this was a very close game, thick and thick. Like it was head to head for the whole entire game. And that fourth quarter, let me tell you something, Nate. The whole game was closing up really quick. It was just back and forth. And then with like 22 seconds left on the clock, the Clippers took a 103-102 lead. And then after that, the Phoenix Suns, there was a 3-pointer. It was shot. It was missed. Then the ball ended up going out of bounds, but it was off a Clipper, so they gave it to the Phoenix Suns. Now, I don't know who drew up the last play, Nate. Okay, with 0.8 seconds left. I don't know if that was Monty Williams. I don't know if that was just improvised by Jay Crowder or whatever. But whoever it was, I gotta give whoever that was a lot of credit. That was a very, very smart play, okay? Because you don't see that a lot, and you have to and another thing is too, you got to have a lot of trust in your big man to make a play like that. You really do. But overall, no matter whose idea it was, that pass by Jay Crowder was so good, Nate. It was such a good pass, and I'm sorry, but that was the best way to end that game right there. An alley oop from the sideline to DeAndre Ayton to win the game. That was amazing, and that was a very smart play as well because zero point 0.8 seconds is a very short time to shoot that ball, and you weren't guaranteed that you were going to get that ball off in time and get a good shot. But if that was in the air, and DeAndre Ayton came down with the ball, which he did, and ended up dunking it, which he did, that's just the perfect way to end this game, Nate. It really is. But overall, when you look at the game, the stats for the game, if you look at like certain instances where you can point to the LA Clippers, well, first of all, free throws wise, they haven't been the greatest. They shot 18 out of 24. That was 75%, compared to the Phoenix Suns 16 out of 18, which is 88.9%. And then overall, this is one thing I point to in the last game. Points in the paints, the Clippers had 30, and then the Phoenix Suns had 60. Now, overall, again, the Clippers, they were better on the three. They shot 13 for 34, which was a percentage of 38.2, compared to the Phoenix Suns 6 out of 26, which was a percentage of 23.1. But overall, Nate, the Phoenix Suns, to me, they seem like more of an inside team, like in the paint team, kind of like doing the physical work in the paint. And the Clippers, to me, seem more of like a shooting team. You got Terrence Mann, who's a shooter. You have Paul George, who's a shooter. You got those types of guys who are shooters. You got Reggie Jackson, he can shoot. Patrick Beverly, when he's hot, he can pull up. And the Phoenix Suns do have shooters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't. But overall, the Phoenix Suns have been playing more like an in-paint team. They've been shooting more mid-range. They've been going into the paint more. They've been testing their luck there. And they're doing a great job with it. Overall, they've been dominating in the paint, and if their game is the paint and the Clippers' game is, shooting from three and everything like that, the Clippers do a lot more passing and everything like that, where they try to get open. If that's the case, the Phoenix Suns are just doing what they're supposed to do better than the Clippers. In the paint, they're taking advantage of that right there. They're taking advantage of the matchup between Ayton and Zubac. Even though Zubac's a good player, they're taking advantage of that right there. Devin Booker is still there, so he's able to drop buckets when he needs to. Now, obviously, this series has been. Now, people could say, well, the Clippers would be winning if Kawhi Leonard was there, but you can't. In this series, you cannot mention Kawhi Leonard without mentioning Chris Paul. You can't do it. So overall, in my opinion, as of now, the Phoenix Suns have more. They still have DeAndre Ayton. They still have Devin Booker. Cameron Payne has really stepped up for them. This game, Cameron Payne probably what you can make a case that Cameron Payne was the best player on that court. He had 29 points with 9 assists. So Cameron Payne has been really doing his job well, taking over. And overall, Reggie Jackson, he's been doing a good job as well. But when you really look at it, Nate, without Kawhi Leonard, the LA Clippers, it doesn't they're competing, and Tyronn Lue is doing good with what he has. He's doing the best of what he can with what he has. But without Kawhi Leonard, it doesn't seem like this team's able to win. And again, we don't know if Kawhi Leonard is going to return for this series. In my opinion, most likely not, which is why I said if Kawhi Leonard is not in this series, I have the Phoenix Suns in 4. But I made my prediction for 6. I put it in between because I feel like if Kawhi Leonard were to come back before Game 4, they can definitely end up winning in 7. I truly believe that. But it doesn't look like Kawhi Leonard is going to come back. If anything, it looks like there's going to be even more bad news for the LA Clippers because Chris Paul will come back. And as great as Cameron Payne has been this series, and as great as he was this game, again, when Chris Paul comes back, the influence that he has and the way he knows how to, and the way he can control a court, there's no other guy like it, in my opinion. So when he comes back, again, the Clippers are going to have their hands full. In my opinion, what the Clippers really need to do is if they're going to stick to the shooting game and try and doing the passing a lot to get open, that's cool and everything like that. They're doing a great job, but they got to take advantage of that. If you're going to shoot threes, you got to take advantage. You got to take advantage of that. And the other thing is they got to stop this team in the paint. They got to make it tough for them because overall, both games were close games. The first game was by 7. This one was by 1 point, and they did a good job. It's just at the end, it was a smart and good play by the Phoenix Suns to end up winning that game. That's really the only thing you can point to. But overall, the first 2 games were in Phoenix. The next 2 are going to be in LA. So we'll see how that turns out for the LA Clippers. Paul George has been doing everything he can. He's been having a great series, but in my opinion, without Kawhi Leonard, the LA Clippers just seem lost. And without Chris Paul, the Phoenix Suns are still doing what they need to do to win this game. It's just as simple as that. And the Phoenix Suns overall, I just feel like they have a better game plan at those first 2 games coming in than the LA Clippers did. So with that being said, to both teams, I wish them the best of luck in Game 3. It's going to be a good game. Game 3 will be in LA. I'm not sure exactly what day Game 3 is going to be.
Game 3 is going to be on Thursday, 9 p.m. At the Staples Center.
Right, Thursday, 9 p.m. at the Staples Center in LA. So again, that'll be a good game. But look, it's still 2-0 in the series. It's still early in the series. The LA Clippers got to figure something out. And one more thing, Nate, the LA Clippers have to find out one person. They got to find out one person to step up in place of Kawhi Leonard. We always talk about it's next man up, but that next man is probably like Reggie Jackson, but Reggie Jackson and Paul George ain't going to cut it, Nate. It's just as simple as that, So with that being said, I do wish both teams the absolute best of luck. I really do, heading into Game 3. But overall, the Phoenix Suns just seem like they've been having a better game plan coming into these games.
Yeah, they have, and before I continue, I just want to wish Devin Booker and Patrick Beverley the best of luck. They collided in the third period with 3:23 left. They collided heads. Devin Booker said he was gonna have the face mask on. He looked at it. He had stitches all over the top of his nose right up here, and he had the little things in his nostrils so his nose wouldn't bleed. So I do wish him the best of luck. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Patrick Beverley, but best of luck to him as well. This was a very emotional game, Mario, especially towards the end. I remember I was watching a lot of this game when I came home from work last night, Mario, and towards the end, after that alley-oop, DeMarcus Cousins got into it with Devin Booker. He shoved him and whatnot. This was a very emotional game, Mario. But I look at this series, and this is definitely an extremely entertaining series. Because both teams have everything you've ever wanted from a championship contender. It's just one team's playing better than the other.
Right.
And this game was a perfect example of that.
Right. And one team, which is the Phoenix Suns, they're just adapting to not having a star player better than the Clippers are.
Exactly, yeah. And I was on ESPN this morning when I woke up, and the Suns are hoping that Chris Paul can return in Game 3 because his situation is not as dire as Kawhi Leonard. So, but right. I was also reading Kawhi's situation. They said that his return to the series isn't out of the books yet. So he could very well return as well, but we just don't know that. Chris Paul's situation, it's more foreseeable. I'll say it like that. So if he does come back, the Clippers need to step up. Everybody on that team needs to step up, not just one or two people. Everybody when Chris Paul comes back. That's my advice for the Clippers. But this game, like you said, free throws. Paul George missed 2 free throws in like the last 10 seconds of the game. I remember that part. And you can't be doing that. When the game is that close, you can't be missing shots. That's just that. So really, when you look at this game, Mario, it all came down to the last seconds. You know what I mean? But there were flaws, like you mentioned, the Clippers with their missed free throw opportunities. But other than that, Mario,
points in the paint was a big one
points
too.
in the paint was an issue as well. Yeah, and
it should be in there.
Right. So overall, Mario, the Clippers just need to play better basketball. And now you're going back to the Staples Center for Game 3. I'm going to say this right here, right now. The Phoenix Suns have just as much of an advantage as the Clippers do. And here's why. Okay, they faced the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. Guess what? Guess who plays in the Staples Center with the Lakers? The Clippers. So they know that place. They know that environment. They're familiar with it. This is the second time they're going back there this playoffs. So in my opinion, Mario, the Suns have just as much of an advantage as the Clippers do. Not to mention they played there throughout the entire regular season. You should know the environment there by now. But look, anything can happen in Game 3, and you never know. So with that being said, overall, I really enjoyed watching this game. This was definitely an entertaining game, and it's an entertaining series overall, Mario. The games are coming down to the wire, and I just love seeing that. So with that being said, best of luck to both teams. Again, best of luck to Patrick Beverly and Devin Booker. He said he's going to play Game 3 with the face mask. I haven't heard anything from Patrick Beverly, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to him. So best of luck to him as well. And we'll see what happens come Game 3.